What's up YouTube? Capital G here, looking at some new Raid Raptors coming out in the Collector's Pack. This is coming out, I believe, May 14th. So basically 3 weeks in the OCG. There was a YouTube video that actually revealed some cards, which doesn't really happen that often. I know that happened with the Gold Series and the TCG here, but there's a new Raid Raptor, rank 4 XC, which is, thank God, because don't get me wrong, it's cool to have Force Tricks as a great utility card, but he's really not a card that beats over anything, unless you have like 2 of them plus like a Castell. And with Raid Raptors, it's like they started with 4, and then they started going up, and then they started going down with like Dp-Ygo, which was kind of weird. Then they started going back up again with the the satellite cannon and then the ultimate falcon, and then I thought that they were going to go to 12, but they're going right back to 4, which is the most practical rank for the deck. So I think that that's cool. And then we got another monster to talk about. He's okay. So yeah, I'll link this video. You guys can check out the cosplayers. You got Reggie over here and Yu over there. And let's go right into the cards. There, first off, is the effect monster, Raid Raptor Napalm Dragonus. Level 4 Winged Beast, dark, of course, because Raid Raptor. Level 1000 attack, 1000 defense. Once per turn during your main phase, you can inflict 600 points of damage to your opponent. After you activate this effect, you cannot activate effects of monsters until the end of the turn, except Raid Raptor monsters. That's effect number 1. Effect number 2, when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special 1 Raid Raptor monster from your deck, but its effects are negated. That's a damn shame that the effects are negated, because that would have been a really easy way to get the last tricks outside of like 1-for-1 if the effects were not negated. But I would assume mainly you're going to use effect number 2 to just get the other random like level 4 Raid Raptor so that you can just go into more XC plays. Effect number 1 is 600 points of damage is okay. Maybe it can close out a game here and there. I don't think it'll be that relevant. You can't use the burn effect and like Cowboy in the same turn, but you could hypothetically use, like, if you, I don't know, use Soul Charge and for some reason you didn't have a battle phase or something like that, you could use this burn effect and then go into like Fiend Eagle, even though it's a rank 3, and do a little bit of burn damage. Raid Raptors, they're an archetype. They've got a couple of burn cards. This card's okay. I don't think you gotta, just to be blunt, I don't really think you need to run this card. The XC, however, is an absolute staple, not just in Raid Raptors, but in Harpies and Blackwings. Anything that can make this XC needs to run this XC. It's really just that good. The XC, which again, we can see right here. Really lovely artwork too, by the way. I actually like it. Kind of almost looks like more like a dragon than an actual Raid Raptor, but no, I guess you can see the feathers there. Okay. All right. This is Raid Raptor Blade Burner Falcon. It's a dark rank 4 winged beast, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. Now, the fact that it only has a 1000 stat line is not that relevant. If you've seen Raid Raptors, especially the XCs, they're all underpowered when it comes to, like just the pure stats, except like Satellite Falcon and Ultimate Falcon. For the most part, most of these starting Raid Raptors were kind of underpowered, and that's because a lot of times they increase their attack, or they have really big burn damage, or they can blow up like entire fields or attack directly and blow up monsters and shit like that. So the fact that the attack is underwhelming is not really that big of a deal, because it's par for the course when it comes to this archetype. But it isn't something that ever hinders the archetype, because generally the effects make up for it. Alright, so it requires 2 Winged Beasts monsters to summon. Again, that's why I say Harpies and Blackwings can make this card effectively. Effect number 1, if this card is XC summoned while your life points are at least 3,000 lower than your opponent, you can increase this card by 3,000 attack. That is insane. So essentially, it is very possible to bring out a rank 4 with 4,000 attack, which is by far miles ahead of every other, in terms of just pure raw damage. It is by far like ahead of everything in the game. You know what I mean? Maybe Dark Rebellion XC Dragon in certain situations. You can't even say Utopia the Lightning, because it's not even a rank 4. But just being able to bring out a 4,000 attack rank 4 is very like relevant in a lot of duels. Effect number 2, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can detach any number of cards from this XC, or excuse me, any number of this card's XC materials, destroy monsters your opponent controls up to the number of XC materials detached for this effect. So if you happen to run something over in battle, you can just detach 2 materials in the battle phase, might I add, and you can just basically, blow up 2 more monsters on your opponent's side of the board, and then you can still have your other monsters attack them directly, assuming that they didn't have like 5 monsters on board. Now, the thing is, people will look at this effect and they will say, well, it only works when you're 3,000 lower than your opponent. But the thing is, even without chicken game, legalized, even with chicken game banned, just think about how many easy ways that there are to adjust life points without taking huge amounts of battle damage. You have Upstart Goblin and Instant Fusion. Upstart Goblin can be teched in pretty much any deck in the game right now. Instant Fusion is a card that just about every rank 4 deck, any deck that runs a lot of level 4s, is pretty much going to run maybe 1, 2, or even 3 copies of that card anyway, because Styles Not Strict got unbanned Natural Synergy there. So those are 2 easy ways to make the life point difference 1,000 life points. And then you got to think about the more commonly played cards, even more so than those. You got to think about the Solemns, Solemn Warning, and maybe 3 copies of Solemn Strike, essentially the Solemn Brigade. Those are cards that can do 2,000, 1,500 instantly, but still give you a lot of value. Just think about how practical it is in a typical duel for you maybe to use a Solemn Strike in your first 2 turns, and then maybe you use like an Instant Fusion in your following turn. You know what I mean? That's 2,500 damage, or that's 2,500 gap right there. If you've taken any battle damage, if your opponent hit you with, even a small monster directly, and you haven't done any battle damage, well, there's your 3,000. Now you can essentially just go into a rank 4 that's 4,000 attack. The way that I look at this card is, this is going to be a card that not only is staple in decks like Raid Raptors and Harpies and Blackwings that can make it, it's just going to be a card that steals away games. Games where your opponent might be at like 5,000 life points and you're down on pretty much nothing. Maybe you're at like 1,000 or something like that, and you happen just by running this card to get a 4K beater on the field, and maybe they can't kill it, because it doesn't matter what your life points are after this card is Exceed Summon. Once you crank that effect up, he stays at 3,000. If your opponent, if the difference drops, it doesn't matter, because this card already has gotten its effect. It's already resolved. Now, it's important to know you can't have a 2,000 point gap and then summon this card and then activate Instant Fusion. The card is like, you've already missed your opportunity to use it. The 3,000 gap has to already be there at the time of Exceed Summoning. And also, you can't, if this card dies, you can't be like, all right, I'm going to call it Haunted it immediately and get 3. No, it has to be Exceed Summoned when you have the 3,000 gap. But I just look at this card as one that can just, it's going to win a bunch of, it's going to be like Cowboy. It's going to win Raid Raptors a bunch of games that they really shouldn't have won just because it exists. Like, I would run 1 copy of this just for those sneaky situations that pop up to where, bam, I get a freaking, I get a 4,000 attack monster just because I decided to Solemn Warning early in the game. I think this card is amazing. Anything that's Winged Beast that can run rank 4s needs to run this card. I will be running this in Harpies. I'll be running it in Blackwings. I'll definitely be running it in Raid Raptors. And it's going to be a late game powerhouse. So you guys let me know what you think. Thank you for watching as always.